Alright, so I'm going to try and talk about this in chronological order. Tomorrow I'm going to make a more extensive video detailing the entire NBA cancellation, March Madness cancellation, entire global pandemic's impact on sports in the United States and maybe even the globe. But first, to not overwhelm myself, I want to talk about the Utah Jazz and Rudy Gobert tested. I'm sure everybody on here knows what I'm talking about, but he tested positive for the virus. What I want to do is talk about, summarize it, and a bit of the ramifications that it had and will have on play. So, like I said, I want to do this in chronological order. So, about 4 days before the tip-off between the Utah Jazz and Oklahoma City Thunder, there had been a report that the NBA planned to play games without fans. Many of the players, including LeBron James, said that they wouldn't even play if the NBA had the gall to put out a policy with so much unnecessary action. So, like I said, LeBron said, I'm not even going to play. Same for CJ McCollum, I believe. And Rudy Gobert, of all people, may have had the most candid response by showing his protest, by touching every single microphone. I wouldn't say maliciously, but to sort of show that he didn't really believe in the policy to begin with, to show that the virus wasn't going to affect him and that he was invincible as well as the league. And that backfired on him, to say the least, and I'm sure everybody knows that there was some instant karma involved there, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So as I said, the game was about to begin, and just like out of a movie, literally the referee had the ball in his hand, ready to tip off. A doctor came storming out of the Oklahoma City Thunder's locker room to stop play. And at that moment, I knew that the game was not going to stop because of any other reason other than a player had the virus. And that's because the league was completely aware of the situation going on outside of the game itself. So why would they cancel when fans had literally showed up, paid to be there, paid for concessions, just to cancel it seconds before tip-off? So that's why I knew. So both teams were chauffeured back to their locker rooms, and little did the Utah Jazz know they were in for a long night. I'm almost certain none of the Jazz players knew Gobert's had tested positive, and that's why the doctor ran out, because right before play it had been stated that he had been tested positive. And luckily for every single player in the Oklahoma City Thunder, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was set to guard Donovan Mitchell had actually tested positive, so that doctor was the real MVP. So the Utah Jazz were basically stranded in the Chesapeake Bay Arena for the entire night to basically be quarantined to make sure that none of the players would further spread the virus, because I'm going to say it's not yet been reported that multiple players outside of Mitchell and Gobert have been infected, considering that they are around each other daily, and those two may have even traveled with the team back to Salt Lake City. So it was a scary night for the Jazz because every single player had to get tested. So the tests take 4 hours to go through. And as the night progressed, I'm sure that their anxiety was rising, thinking that they may also have it and what it means for their future. So NBA officials were trying to think what they should do, and they thought that the best course of action was a potential bus ride home, which is a 19-hour trip. And I'm glad for their sake that that's not what it came to. They were actually chauffeured in a quarantine flight home. I'm not sure how the pilot felt about that, taking them home, but they arrived in Salt Lake City this morning, and because of it, the league decided to suspend its entire season. Like, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a huge impact because Gobert was the highest profile person, maybe outside of Ted Cruz, in the United States to have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. So it was pretty ground-shattering news, and it put the seriousness of the event into reality for a lot of people out there. So, to summarize, Gobert got some instant karma by making a joke, a mockery of the situation, and then actually coming down with it. And what I do, I'm not trying to set fear into anybody, but what I know is that multiple players in the NBA were tested positive, and that shows that a lot of people in the United States right now actually likely have the virus, considering that the players in the NBA were being tested regularly, whereas the people in the United States, especially Washington and New York, aren't being tested. So, outside of that, I will have more on this tomorrow. Those are just my initial thoughts, especially on this specific situation. And outside of that, I hope everybody out there stays safe. Make sure that you do not put yourself in any unnecessary risk. And it's pretty crazy that we're in this situation, so don't take it lightly, and be responsible and be safe. And I thank you for listening.